we've written about it before. We said before, it's that piece of their portfolio that has brought together EY globally. Essentially, that has allowed them to be more globally managed. I know everyone has their challenges. None of the big four are perfect when it comes to the globally run integrated model. We recognize that, but it has allowed them to be a little bit more cohesive from a go-to-market perspective when it comes to those global clients that have different presence across different countries.
Welcome to TBR Talks, decoding strategies and ecosystems of the globe's top tech firms, where we talk business model disruption in the broad technology ecosystem, from management consultancies to systems integrators, hyperscalers to independent software vendors, telecom operators to network and infrastructure vendors, and chip manufacturers to value-added resellers. We'll be answering some key intelligence questions we've heard from executives and business unit leaders among the leading professional services, IT, and telecom vendors. I'm Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst, and today I'll be talking about a recent analyst summit I attended with my colleague, Boz Hristov, Principal Analyst. Boz, you and I, welcome of course, but you and I just got back off the road. We've been on the road a bit lately, but one of the trips we took was to San Francisco for the first big global analyst summit in person that EY has done since pre-pandemic, since 2019.
Yep.
The last one was in Boston at Innovation Realized in the Seaport.
Yep.
This time we were in San Francisco, also at the beginning of their Innovation Realized event, also at a very cool space. So other than the change of coasts, and other than 5 years between, or 4.5 years in between them, what's changed? What stood out as really different about either EY or just everything that we were looking at and hearing about?
Yeah, I mean, just rewinding a little bit of the timeline, COVID and all that, and it's just 5 years flew by, right? But just, I think that one of the biggest thing that stood out for me, just one of the very first impressions that I experienced being on site at the venue and just walking through the hallways there. At first it felt like as if I were at a technology company conference. That was my kind of a big kind of like we saw all these partner sponsored booths essentially. And I'm like, that's interesting. We know UI leans on its technology partners as heavily as they can possibly can, given their, and as deep as they possibly can, the few partners they can to work with, given their relationship with the broader technology ecosystem. But just having those technology partner sponsored spots and just kind of like the immersive space and whatnot, kind of like set the different expectation of what we may experience in the next couple of days while being on site and what actually the clients are going to be experiencing. Because remember, Innovation Realized, it was as much as being part of the analyst event, it was also about them bringing clients in and talking about how they as a company are evolving and just having their direct client conversations and bringing clients on site. So I think that was one of the big kind of like set the bar pretty high, especially as we've been talking about the ecosystem as a whole, as the importance of the ecosystem in the last couple of years, how much it has changed. And seems like UI is definitely, going after it. It's taking advantage of the evolving expectations of the buyers and the need for better partnerships. So that was definitely something that stood out.
One thing that I know was the same as last time was they did have those hanging chairs. You could do the hanging meeting. You didn't go up in them though.
I didn't know this time. I let others do it since I had that experience in the past. Certainly a cool experience. Certainly something I get the idea behind it. You want to be, kind of disconnect from reality, up in the air, in a chair, having a conversation with peers and others, just to open up your brainstorm thinking and just creative thinking juices flow and whatnot. So I get it. I didn't go on the chair this time around.
So did you? No, I didn't. And hanging chair sounds ridiculous. So I'll have to ask Haley if we can put the picture in the show notes from the 2019 event and see if that would work. So it was a couple of days and it was right at the Innovation Realized site first, and then at the hotel after the second day. I'm curious, what were some of either the sort of the themes that you felt over a couple of days that emerged, or what was something that stood out as like this is an EY I haven't seen before, or this is an area that I haven't thought about EY going into before?
Yeah, so the theme of the event was to rethink, right? So there was definitely loud and clear that, the executives presenting and the clients, talking and whatnot, and partners discussing was about rethinking who EY is, especially post-Everest, right? So that was the big pivot that the firm had to make around it. The they had to set certain foundation, kind of like rules and expectations essentially. So there's certain parts of the strategies are not changing, but I think what's changing is how they take advantage of the opportunities that's coming along the way from a portfolio and go-to-market efforts. Take cloud, for example. It's not a new theme. They've been investing in cloud, but they're going a little further and deeper into certain domain areas with cloud. Take AI. They've been kind of like amongst the leading services providers with the EY Fabric and the AI practice prior to GenAI. And now it has gone a little further and trying to think a little more, holistically, yet streamline how they position AI. They practice around software assets. I think that was something that was an important component that we were aware in the past, but I think it was elevated through a different lens this time. And I think they certainly have raised the bar for themselves of how well they manage the opportunity that having a software-like company practice essentially within EY, yet relying on the other lines of business they take advantage of. So these are kind of, again, a lot more on the technology kind of focus, not surprised there. So it's the recognition of who they are as an organization, again, post-Everest, and what they can do, how they can take advantage most of it, given that Everest did not happen
Right.
for the time being. So I think that's just elevating those important pieces of the puzzle. I think that was good to hear.
Yeah, so we can have a second chat sometime, or we'll write something up on the software part of it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's fascinating how they structured their software business, which at one point they said was one of the top 30 software
yeah.
companies in the world. I think it's how they've structured it and their strategy around software as part of a professional services white shoe tax and audit consulting firm, I think is different and something we need to explore a little bit further. I am curious though, because I know you attended an artificial intelligence event with them in Spain. Was that a couple years ago now?
It was the fall of 2022.
Okay, so fall 2022.
18 months, yeah.
Between that event and between the Spain event and the San Francisco event, we had GenAI emerge. Now, in your thinking about EY, was what they were doing then, did that set them up really well for the emergence of GenAI? And how do you think their partners view them as a AI kind of firm?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. It's exactly the partner play. So that was the common denominator, and I've spoken in previous discussions about how EY has elevated the importance of the partner ecosystem. So going back to that conference about the Data and AI Summit in Spain, that was the first time I experienced seeing, on stage 6 partners next to each other. EY hosting them. Many of those partners are actually competitors of each other, but then they work with EY. So EY moderating and having an open conversation about the value of the ecosystem and understanding that it's not one size fits all. You need to be an orchestrator. You need to make sure you understand who plays what, where, and bring those skills and those capabilities to clients together. So that was something I heard back 18 plus months ago, and we heard even more now on stage and off stage, throughout the Global Analyst Summit as well. And I think having that mindset from way before GenAI was something that we were talking about, is definitely, an important factor. I think it's an important factor, not just for AI, it's important for cloud, it's important for supply chain, it's important for managed services. I mean, for all these pieces of their portfolio, I think it's they think and they see it and they rely on the partner ecosystem in a very similar way, which is more of a orchestrating that together.
And like you said, it's important for all the different parts of their business. I think one thing that jumped out at me was when there was a breakout session on cyber and risk, they talked about AI, and it wasn't like we're talking about AI because everyone's talking about AI. It was, we've been doing this for a long time. This is part of our, the trusted fabric. This is part of responsible AI that we've been doing for a while.
Yeah, anything else? It's just to kind of finish on that. The EY fabric, I think we've written about it before, and we said before, it's that piece of their portfolio that has brought together EY globally, essentially. That has allowed them to be more globally managed. I know everyone has their challenges. None of the big four are perfect when it comes to the globally run integrated model. We recognize that. But it has allowed them to be a little bit more cohesive from a go-to-market perspective when it comes to those global clients that have different presence across different countries.
Yeah, 100%. And it is something that they've been working on for a long time. Yeah. It's not a new strategy. I think we are going to see a new strategy from EY in the coming months. I think that'll be something we'll have to I mean, obviously we'll pay attention to it, but I think we're going to have to think about it in terms of what the firm has gone through in the last couple of years with Everest, with the pandemic and then with Everest and everything else. So on that note, let's project out a year from now when they have their next, and maybe not. They've been on a 2-year cycle with Global Analyst Summits. Yeah. But if they do one in a year or in 18 months or something, what do you think is going to be, if not different, then certainly where do you think the bets that they've clearly placed now are going to be the ones that pay off the most? Go with either direction. What will be different or what will pay off the most? Or a little of both?
I think just given where the macro climate is today and what clients are looking for when they work with services providers, it's a lot more about optimizing existing assets. It's a lot more about ROI. So I think that would compel EY to be more strategic with fewer clients, and go deeper with some of those clients. And managed services is a good sticking, kind of a piece of the portfolio that allows them to increase stickiness, I should say, and I think it's an important piece of that puzzle to go deeper, to go wide, expand that wallet share from the client. So I think everyone is after client retention. That's the big piece. Could it be through improving and enhancing quality of service? Could it be from leaning on technology partners deeper? Could it be just revamping their own go-to-market strategy or portfolio, streamlining portfolio offerings? We know that over the last 10 years, the portfolios of both service and technology providers as well as clients have imploded. I think we just have reached an inflection point that it's time for everyone to take a step back and say, let's use with what we already have and optimize what we have. That goes a little counterintuitive to what software providers are trying to always roll out new solutions and stuff. But I think that's the sentiment we're getting from the clients. And I think as an organization like EY and as consultative as they are, they have that first line of they hear those signals first more often than not within the ecosystem, because that's when the C-suite leans onto them for advice and they hear those pain points. So I think we'll be up to someone like EY to be a little bit more strategic about their own portfolio, about their own staffing, about their commercial models, so they can really go deep and really be strategic with the clients that matter versus having just an extra client that may or may not be in a couple of years because they just bought one piece of their portfolio.
I think that's, for my money, I think that's exactly what we're going to see. That I think they're going to go deeper with the partners with the clients that matter. Actually, maybe I mean both things. And they're going to go deeper with the partners that matter. I mean, they've already made bets on Microsoft and SAP and ServiceNow and CrowdStrike in the cybersecurity space. So excellent. One last question I have to ask, because we went to San Francisco, which is also known for very good food. So what was your single favorite thing that you had to eat in San Francisco? And I'm going to go first this time. I'm going to go first, not because, and you're not going to agree with me on this, and that's fine. It was my absolute favorite thing. It was the mackerel out of a tin at a wine bar in the Italian Little Italy section of San Francisco. That was absolutely fantastic. If you told me that the best food I would have when I was there was mackerel out of a tin, I'd say you're crazy. But it was the setting. It was just perfect.
Yeah, that was definitely a good experience, no doubt about it. I actually enjoyed the empanadas we had by the seaport, the terminal, the sea terminal,
the ferry terminal,
that we had. So it was easy, it was casual, it was super delicious.
It was so good we went back the second day.
Yes,
or the third day.
We kind of had to.
We had it twice, so it was that good.
Yeah,
excellent. Yeah. All right, thank you very much, Buzz. So next week, I'll be speaking with Alex DeMule about TBR's new AI and GenAI technology market landscape research. Don't forget to send us your key intelligence questions on business strategy, ecosystems, and management through the form in the show notes below. Visit tbri.com to learn how we help tech companies large and small answer these questions with the research, data, and analysis my guests like Buzz bring to this conversation every week. Once again, I'm your host, Patrick Heffernan, Principal Analyst at TBR. Thanks for joining us, and see you next week.